Bitcoin just smashed through its all-time high yesterday, hitting almost around $124,000 to $125,000. Will this momentum continue? No, it won't. Actually, clearly the momentum is not continuing because Bitcoin is currently trading at 118,441 American inflating dollars. What the hell just happened? When we break all-time highs, we're supposed to have blue skies and continue on up to 150, then 210, then 4 million. It didn't happen, largely because of PPI and technical indicators showing maybe the top was in. We're going to talk about that, all the news in the market today with my amazing guest, Sid from Maple Finance. Let's go.
Let's go.
Good morning, everybody. Happy all-time high for 10 minutes day to those who celebrate. We did have an all-time high yesterday in Bitcoin. Ethereum couldn't even get itself together enough to break its all-time high, coming up just short. And now, of course, we have a market-wide correction and retrace. Going to bring on Sid right now. Good evening. I say good morning for you, but you're on the other side of this planet, right?
Right. Good. Well, yeah, good evening.
Glad to be good late night for you, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So Bitcoin goes up to $124,000. There's celebration. Everything's great. I wake up, it's like 121 or something. Okay, no surprise. You know, if you trade markets, you know that there's resistance and all-time highs, blah, 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 whatever. And then PPI hits, right? PPI month over month, hottest since March 2022. As services, PPI explode higher. Over half the increases attributable to margins for final demand trade services, which jumped 2.0%. So basically, they expected 0.2%. We got 0.9%.
0.9. Yeah.
Last week, we had the CPI numbers, 100% rate cut priced in on predictive markets and Fed tracker. Now it's a week later, and everyone's like, no Fed cuts in September. When has anybody been right in the last 2.5 years about Fed cuts?
No. This is point going to the nothing ever happens crowd. You know, that guy who just bets on no changes ever happening on Poly Market. He's going to be very happy right now. Yeah.
I mean, but listen, we know that these all are blips, right? Every day we get a new, some sort of government data headline. Nobody believes government data apparently anyways, because I'm actually wondering
check the statistician.
Who gets fired today? I was just going to say, literally, who gets fired today? Because that can't be right. But listen, in the midst of all this, I think let's talk about the actual narratives for Bitcoin and crypto, and the reason that it was even pushing to all-time highs in the first place. We clearly have crypto IPO madness, I think, is sort of the story, and treasury companies, right? We know exactly who the buyers are in this case. We know exactly where the interest and money are coming from. But here, the latest sign of crypto IPO boom might be coming. 10T Holdings, Dan Tappier predicts crypto listings on exchanges are a mini step for value moving on chain. Okay, whatever. Point being, the other article we have is that basically on the back of Trump being extremely bullish on crypto, we're seeing launches of companies left, right, and center. And the biggest one, crypto exchange Bullish price, IPO at 37 per share. It went up to like $118.
Yeah, I think that's where it topped out.
I mean, this pulled this pulled a full circle. Like, I don't mean full circle. I mean, fully went circle. It actually launched. I think Circle was supposed to launch at like 29 and launched at 32 or 33 and went over 100 on the first day of trading. This did the same thing.
Yeah. No, I think, look, and what we're seeing is that IPOs in general are up. I think they're up 53% for the year so far versus same time last year. But we are seeing real interest and a clear demand for crypto IPOs. We've seen the outperformance of Circle, now Bullish. We know that there are other crypto IPOs coming. I think Kraken's, it's no secret that Kraken is going to be coming to market. We've seen Gemini. I think Gemini had also done a confidential filing to IPO as well. So I think as long as the market keeps receiving them like this and they trade this well on the first day, you're going to continue to see more of these IPOs coming. And it clearly shows demand among institutional institutional investors as well as retail investors, because we know Circle was particularly well received in Korea as well.
Yeah. So here's the article showing the actual price action success of it. It ended up opening at 90. I mean, it's really like just wild demand for this. And listen, let's be honest. Like I know and like the people from Bullish. This is not an exchange that's on most people's radar, right? It is Peter Thiel backed. They own CoinDesk. Like they've got a lot of things going, but this isn't a name brand retail exchange like a Coinbase or a Kraken or even Circle. And it still pulled the same crazy multiple. Like,
yeah.
Does that just mean there's literally demand for anything that says crypto that can get on an exchange right now?
Well, I think it indicates there are plenty of companies within crypto who should be looking to go live right now. I mean, as you said, Bullish doesn't do the most volume among exchanges in terms of the leaderboard, but it does have a few high profile assets. Like I think it's generally a pretty well run exchange. It has a really strong management team. They've got the CoinDesk brand under them, and and then of course they have the Peter Thiel backing, and I think that counts for a lot with investors. But this signals that there's obviously rampant demand among investors. So Kraken should get their skates on. Gemini should get their skates on. These are also high profile names that you would expect to do as well, if not better, just given the volumes they do.
The volumes they do and their and name brands and who's behind them. Like Gemini is a Winklevoss twins. Those guys are going to generate an insane amount of interest. Kraken, obviously one of the largest exchanges in the United States, and been talking about them going public for years now. So clearly a very good environment. Hey, do you know how you can always tell? Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, it'd be interesting to see if we kind of progress through this trend and this cycle the same way we have with the treasury companies. What the 10th or 15th company to IPO will be in the crypto sector.
That's our next topic. Perfect segue. But I just wanted to ask you, do you know how you can always know when the top is in temporarily for any asset? Do you know what the indicator is?
Uber.
That's one. The one that I find to be the most compelling that I'll never do again is showing your portfolio or bragging to somebody, like pulling up your portfolio and showing them how well you've done, like showing your wife how much money you've made will always be the dead top.
Always the top signal.
Michael Saylor, today's strategies Bitcoin holdings closed at an all-time high of 77.2 billion. I know he doesn't have a wife.
Oh boy.
But
no.
I mean, literally right at the top, he hit it with the brag.
And the other one you've been seeing is Bukele from El Salvador. Every now and then we'll post his portfolio.
Yeah, his has been working out clearly on the way up better than this. But yeah, to be serious though, let's talk about the Bitcoin treasury companies. It's my favorite topic. I love to get each person's take on how it will play out. I was a huge skeptic at the beginning. Like, I do not like leverage on Bitcoin. I don't see what the point is. I don't really understand the massive premiums to NAV. But I came around to think it's less of a systemic risk to Bitcoin and more just a risk to the ones that fail and their shareholders, right? I do think there will be some Bitcoin selling, but generally, you'll probably just blow up your company and end up at a discount. You have an interesting premise, I think, that I share on how this might play out.
Yeah. So my short-term view is that there's going to be more of these because the market's saying that it's still willing to absorb them and entertain the concept. So I think short-term we get more of these. Currently, they trade at premiums. I think over time that is going to trend towards a discount, and you will see the stronger ones that trade at a premium. Let's say a strategy will acquire those that trade at discounts. Because if you look at it, let's say Saylor's strategies trades at a 2-to-1 multiple, he can effectively sell $2 of stock, which represents $1 of Bitcoin, to buy $1 of Bitcoin for 50 cents. So he's effectively getting a 4x benefit instead of a 2x benefit. So I think that's the natural progression of where this goes over time. And those who say these will never trade at discounts, that's what people said about Grayscale in the past.
Yeah, but let's talk about that because I hear that narrative constantly. How can you trade at a discount if you hold the Bitcoin? How can your stock be worth less than the net asset value? Stocks have this funny way of being irrational and trading on their own, regardless of the underlying fundamentals, just like crypto do. And
Yeah.
it could easily happen. Now, Grayscale was a little different only because like people literally couldn't redeem. So it was at a discount and people couldn't get their money out. So it sent a much bigger discount, but that was down to 50, 60%. There's nothing to say these can't go down 5, 10%, which would be, as you said, a huge discount for anybody who has dry powder. Jack Mahler's actually, I asked him like at Bitcoin Vegas, right when this trend was hitting hard and he had just launched 21. I was like, isn't this like a systemic risk? Isn't this bad? He was like, I hope they all blow up so I can buy them. He literally said
it. Yeah. Which is totally logical and sensible for anyone who continues to have a premium to do, and anyone who remains, well capitalized. But for those who think that you can't trade a discount when you still got the Bitcoin, I'd point out that, it wasn't so long ago Yahoo traded at a discount to the value of their Alibaba holdings, right? Which suggested that the market viewed that Yahoo was actually going to destroy Alibaba value, even though they held liquid Alibaba shares on their balance sheet that were worth more than the entire value of Yahoo at that time.
Yeah, it's crazy, but we have plenty of examples that will happen.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would actually be MicroStrategy that buys them up, or if it'll be like Nakamoto in 21, or if they'll all kind of the early ones with the big money pump, it's $1 billion, I think. If there's waiting, to my knowledge, a lot of them haven't even bought much Bitcoin yet.
Yeah.
They're waiting for regulatory clarity or approval to pivot the companies that they took over. So,
I mean, we've been speaking to a few of them. I think we make no secret that, we would be interested in lending to a number of these companies in that we can provide them with capital that's a lower cost of capital. So no doubt it's cheaper to borrow at 7 to 9% than issuing a PIPE or convertible debt or convertible bonds. It's an opportunistic facility, one they can draw at short notice and repay at short notice. However, I think the companies that do well here are going to be those that differentiate themselves. Either they're really large, they have a fantastic brand name like a Strategy, or they get the lowest cost of capital, or they're able to somehow generate a yield on their treasury assets. Now that's going to be more relevant for the ETH and the SOL ones than the BTC ones. But I do think you either have to get really big or you have to find a niche to survive in the treasury code game.
Yeah, that's why my sort of theory that I've been developing is that if you're going to have a treasury company, even though I believe Bitcoin's the only valid treasury asset long term, like altcoins are just too, I don't know. I have nothing against altcoins. Everybody knows I love them, but like hyperliquid is not a like hedge against dollar inflation for the cash on your balance sheet, right? So I do think though that it's impossible to beat Bitcoin with Bitcoin, so you have to do something. It's very easy to beat Solana with Solana because you just stake it and make 9%. So actually, if you're benchmarking an asset and you admit that it's a trade or kind of loosely a hedge fund and not a treasury asset or company, I think those actually make a hell of a lot more sense to me. You literally don't need to take leverage on an altcoin treasury company to justify a slight premium.
Yeah. No, 100%. You just need to be more efficient with your treasury assets, and in Solana's case, you can stake it. In Hyperliquid's case, Hyperliquid is probably kind of a little bit more interesting from that perspective because you can participate in these auctions and get paid fees for holding the treasury assets. So I think that's that's one thing that could emerge. And then I think also another tweet we kind of discussed earlier in the week was the idea that if notwithstanding what we've just seen on PPI, if you do get a rate cut before the end of the year, crypto spreads tend to widen relative to TradFi. And you might actually, I've been interested in the idea of, could you see some kind of treasury company that's set up to do debt, like crypto, to effectively monetize the spread that you see in crypto over what you can earn in TradFi?
Yeah, there's so many creative ways to create these things. It's just, I think, as I'm saying, it's just harder with Bitcoin. Your point about hyper.
Yeah. No, I'm 100%.
As long as you don't, I just don't think you should then call those a treasury company. I think you just say like hyperliquid hedge funds.
Yeah.
So that people know, because somebody is doing something to engineer a yield that justifies a premium to NAV.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think it's just a product of if you're structuring one of those companies or one of those deals, it's, you speak in the language that the investors understand. And so if they've seen 10 pitches for Bitcoin treasury companies, if you go in there saying it's a treasury company, it's just easier for them, for the audience.
Okay, so let's talk about
But I
though.
agree with you.
Yeah, what you touched on, because it's more interesting, which is that obviously you have your finger on the pulse at Maple of institutional asset management on chain, right?
Yeah.
And how these people are
Yeah.
going to use their assets. Let's admit that they're going to have to do something, Bitcoin or
Yeah.
otherwise. And as you said, you're very interested in being a part of that something. So the conversations you're having with them, what does that look like without giving away anything, any
Yeah.
inside information?
Well, for us, for us, the pitch is that they can either go to capital markets and issue pipes or convertible bonds or preferred equity, but those are going to be expensive. Those investors aren't hanging out for a sub 10 return on investment. They're looking for 15 to 20 plus IRRs. So we can be a cheaper source of capital for them. We can be a facility they can draw down within a day's notice, so they can opportunistically buy the dips. And that's where they can start to compete with each other. So if you're the 50th Bitcoin company, but you can buy the dips better than the others. Well, over time, you're going to end up with more Bitcoin per share for your
Hedge fund.
shareholders. Exactly.
Hedge fund.
Yeah, exactly. Your hedge fund, your Bitcoin hedge fund will outperform. And then also you can pay back our facility really quickly if you have, one of these pipes or convertible deals in the works. So cheaper, more flexible, easier to draw down, and that's the pitch. But the issue we have to overcome is a lot of these treasury companies, they do not want to represent to the market that they have a liquidation price on their assets. Saylor had this back in 2022. He used to have a facility with one of the big regional banks that's no longer with us.
Which is funny because it was like only 300 million of a
tiny, like a drop in the ocean compared
to, but it was enough of a narrative to drive people crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, a drop in the ocean compared to what he does on a even a weekly basis now. But I think it was sensible at the time, and I think there's a place for this type of facility for the purpose of buying the dips. I don't know that it's I don't know that's best long term. Long duration.
They pay you back
source of
quickly.
Capital.
In theory,
Yeah,
they're
paying
paying
you back
relatively quickly.
Yeah.
They buy the dip.
And as long as you structure it conservatively, there could be very little chance of them hitting a margin call. Or if they hit it and you've sized it appropriately, then they can easily make the margin call. It's not in our interest for any of these guys to get liquidated. We do not want to be responsible for that, and it would certainly prevent us from doing other deals in the space, just as we're getting started. So, but I think it can be a very healthy, mutually beneficial partnership. And so we're in conversation with these teams. But what I would say is for the Bitcoin companies, we have pitched a deal where they could stake their Bitcoin and get a lower cost on the debt, because we had a Bitcoin yield product.
Do you wrap it and put it in DeFi? I mean, how does that work?
We stake the Bitcoin in custodians and we use it in core network staking. So it's one of the Bitcoin L1s. Yeah. So you're not really at a risk of slashing or a DeFi hack. But that's just one flavor. The others are that we would let them stake, whether they could stake hype and then continue to earn fees from those auctions, or they could stake SOL and we can also lower their cost of debt because we can keep some of the SOL yield. But all of it adds up to we're open to creative structures where they can lower their cost of capital or start to earn more income on their treasury assets. That's kind of the core pitch.
Yeah. You touched on it earlier and you just kind of made it even clearer. The concern continues to be, to me, and I've said this 1,000 times, it's company number 73 or 35 or whatever it is. Like, what are those 100%. Guys
There's a natural decline in quality.
What do they have to do to compete? Quality, but also just demand. Like, you're just too late. And where is the money going to come from? And what kind of pitch or risk are they going to have to take on to then compete? Like, why would you buy their stock instead of MicroStrategy? To be honest, like, I think MicroStrategy at like 1.7 to MNAV right now, multiple, that's really low. I mean, and
Yeah,
justified.
yeah, historically very low. Yeah,
Like, why would you buy one at 7?
yeah, yeah.
7x.
No, I agree. They have to kind of, the business model of the newer ones relies on them having an MNAV premium, and the more there are already in the market, the harder it is to justify your MNAV premium, and that's where you've got to eventually, one of these companies is going to go quite far out on the risk curve, and I'm sure one of them will blow up eventually.
Yeah, I think it's almost guaranteed. So, what else are you guys heavily focused on right now? I mean, I'm assuming it's just this humongous institutional wall of money we just talked about, but you obviously, I mean, it's stablecoin, yield. You guys have quite a few products still.
Yeah, we've been trying to grow the stablecoin. Yeah, one of the things we did, we actually just announced today was or yesterday was we got Syrup USDC onboarded as collateral for Drift, so for the Perps exchange. So I think this is interesting because it kind of marks a move towards yield bearing collateral on these exchanges. And it's no secret that we would like to also be on Hyperliquid, and there are a couple of other players who have yield bearing collateral that also would like to get onboarded to these perps dexes. So I think that's going to be a big trend for the rest of the year to keep an eye on. So
yeah, I don't know how to handicap. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, for those who haven't seen the article, effectively traders might have historically posted BTC, or if they held stable coins, they post stables to as collateral for a perps position where they could get leverage. But now you can actually earn a yield on the collateral, which is going to offset the cost of your perps. So much more capital efficient for traders.
Yeah, this is so interesting because obviously this is the primary use case for USDT or USDC, right? Is speculation and perpetuals trading, all the way from institution probably down to retail. Now you can effectively be earning yield on that stable coin that you're using to trade while the trade is open and beyond. If this catches fire, why would you ever use $1 when you can have a yield bearing dollar?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's essentially the pitch from us. Is this is a no brainer. You may as well earn on the collateral that you're putting in for these trading positions. And once we have yield bearing BTC, which is coming, then you could do it on the BTC side as well.
And how do people get access to the yield bearing Syrup USDC? How will they get access to yield bearing Bitcoin? Like, what's the
Syrup USDC is available outside the US at the moment, but anyone with USDC can go and mint it, or you can buy it on on a DEX. Like, we have pretty deep Uniswap liquidity, and so really it's the third largest yield bearing stable out there at the moment. So I think there's about 900 million of it in circulation. So it's relatively abundant, and I'd encourage people to go out and check it out and give it a test.
Competitors, Athena. I mean, is this the kind of the same bucket as?
Yeah, it's in the same market. So we really like the Athena team. We really like the Sky team, and those are the other two in the top three for yield bearing stables.
I mean, I'm looking right now. Is this correct? 6.9%.
Yeah. That's underlying yield coming from over collateralized loans.
I mean, earning 6.9% while you use it rather than just using $1 with no yield seems, as long as you understand. I mean, there's got to be some risk. Like, nothing's free, right? But as long as you understand what you're doing, seems like, especially for institutions moving size, it seems like
100%
obvious. So how big did you say this is? Almost $1 billion?
Yeah. So it's over 900 million. All of the yield is coming from over collateralized loans to institutional borrowers. And the reason that we're able to generate relatively high yields versus some of the DeFi yields is that institutions will pay a little bit more to be able to pledge Bitcoin. They'll pay more to be able to get fixed duration on their loans, or to be able to keep the collateral in tri-party custody. So That's that's typically why CeFi rates are a little bit higher than DeFi borrow, and also our yields have been relatively stable over time as well, because we always have a number of fixed loans on foot. So while DeFi rates might kind of zigzag around, the Syrup USD yields are typically pretty stable and slow to move. So that 6.9 has been relatively consistent over time.
Yeah, just kind of a general question as we sort of come to the end. It's been of debates throughout this entire run. Who's cashing out of Bitcoin at record highs above 120K? We had the same conversation at 100 and 110 and 120 multiple times. It seems that the indication still remains, and you're a block on-chain guy, is that it's actually these early whales and early holders who are cashing out.
I think you're seeing it. I mean, yeah, we're seeing it. I think we're kind of seeing the same thing now. I'm not necessarily a trading expert, but one of the observations I'd make is, for a lot of these early whales, it's now 16 years. Maybe if they're holding since 2011 or 2012, that you're looking at more than a dozen years. It might be the case that they're at the stage now, depending on how old they were when they first purchased it, where they're kind of looking at estate planning. So now they have kind of generational wealth. Maybe they've passed away, maybe they've been through a divorce or something, and so there's kind of there's estate planning or selling going on, for not necessarily because it's their price target, but just because the amount of time that's elapsed has meant that their life circumstances have have kind of drastically changed from where they were when they first purchased it. So I don't find it too strange that some of these early wallets are selling out, but I mean, my view is that it's going higher. So I would find it unusual if they're doing it from a price target perspective, looking to liquidate everything.
Yeah, I just think there's a point where you're either at a certain age or a certain level of wealth where it's so insane that you're just like, I mean, maybe I should sell 20. The funny thing is we have this assumption. There's this guy who sold 80,000 Bitcoin famously a few weeks ago, just took 2012 wallets or whatever and just sent 10,000 in a clip without even test transactions, probably from like a Post-it notepad wallet. I mean, it's just crazy how fast it was. But that guy could have 500,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
There's no proof that he sold his entire stack. And if you were just sitting on, $50 billion, you'd sell 9 and go get a yacht and make sure it's taken care of. I don't think it's like a huge judgment, but it is.
Yeah, because there's kind of like a generational wealth level that some of these whales are going to hit, where it's like if they've got 2 or 3 billion or 10 billion, what's an extra billion or two? Like, they can kind of lock it in, and they're 5 generations from now, their family will still be living comfortably.
Yeah, well, they'll blow it on coke and hookers, but you don't make it 2 generations when the wealth gets handed down. That's a fact. It's like lottery winners who, they're 50% of them are bankrupt in 2 years or something else.
They'll go and put it in the 200th DAT.
That's right. DAT 200 YOLO. Send all your Bitcoin into it. Hope for the best. End up at a 50% discount on your shares. Beautiful. You said your opinion is that it's going higher. So, I mean, before I let you go, maybe just like your general market thoughts and premise for, the next 2 quarters, year, 2 years, cycles, etc.
Yeah, I think. I think this cycle. So let's say whether that's two quarters or anywhere from like 2 to 3 quarters. But let's say my kind of prediction or range for this cycle has been like 150 to 180. I think, with the institutionalization of Bitcoin, there's a couple of trade-offs. So you're going to see more consistent inflows through the ETFs. You're seeing now more steady rates of new adoption coming through. Folks like Ray Dalio are saying Bitcoin and gold should be 15% of folks' portfolios. So I think that leads to kind of, steady upwards pressure. But I think at the same time, the size it's reached now, the level of adoption it's reached, means that you don't see, you're not going to see 8 to 10x's, within a cycle. And so I think that's why, I'm kind of sizing it and saying, well, there's probably a 2 to 3x in this cycle. And from the last low, I think that takes you to sort of 150 to 180.
Yeah,
That's kind of my
180
prediction.
is not bad. Yeah, and in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 6 months.
Oh no,
next year?
I think
Soon.
6 to 9 months.
Yeah. And then do you think we get a 75% brutal bear market for 2.5
No,
years? Yeah.
no.
So
I
shallow.
don't,
The
that's
cycle is
the.
done.
I think the cycles get shallower now. That's
Yeah.
the flip side of institutionalization.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, Sid, man, thank you as always. Can your average person go use Maple, or is it just for the treasury
Yes.
company number 73?
No. We're open to individuals, institutions, and treasury companies alike. So if you can go and find us, we are at Maple Finance on X. I am at Syrup Sid on X, or you can head to our website, maple.finance.
Good.
So we have a product for accredited investors in the US that will pay you between 6.5% and 10% yield on stables. And then, of course, we have the Syrup USD product for those outside of the US or those who are very DeFi native. And that's currently paying, as you showed before, Scott, 6.9, and can be used as perps collateral now.
Incredible, man. Well, listen, I can't wait to see how all of these treasury companies continue on, and I guarantee that they're all coming to you and anyone like you to find ways to put this stuff to work. So be careful for them, Sid.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not in our interest to be responsible for liquidating one of these. So we want them to succeed.
Hopefully we'll have you as a wall to risk manage their potential bad decisions when they're trying to take on more risk. That's what we need. I am confident that we've learned a lot from last cycle. I know there will be people who blow up and haven't.
No YOLO 10x margins. 10x margining their Bitcoin treasury assets as collateral.
You got it, man. All right, thank you so much, Sid. I'm about to go stake all my FTT and try to get a loan and see what we can do.
Love it. Thanks for having me, Scott.
It's a pleasure having you guys. Give Sid a follow, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.